Ladies and gentlemen, the solvency crisis started officially. Happy Saturday. It's not a so happy Saturday for Heartz, one of the biggest car rental company in the world, guys, okay? And in US, unfortunately, they had to file for Chapter 11, which is the bankruptcy chapter in the US. Now, this affects for now just the US, but could spread worldwide, obviously, for Heartz as well. Now, why there was a big impact, obviously, on their business, which is heavily depending on the car rental that people, travel, and most of the revenue that they do is in airports. Okay, so this means that lots and lots of airports are just don't have this traffic anymore, and therefore Heartz, as of yesterday night, had to file for bankruptcy. And this is obviously a huge news because I just have to adjust the sound, sorry. Because it's just lately when Fed Chief Jerome Powell said we need to watch out because the liquidity crisis will become a solvency crisis. And maybe with this big bankruptcy after GCP or JCP is now the second big bankruptcy that we see now in the US, and this is just the beginning. Now think about the business of Heartz, which is very much capital intensive, obviously, because they are having lots and lots of fleet of cars which they pay monthly, right? And they have those on leasing, and then obviously they are using those monthly rental income to pay the fleet. But if you don't have any income, obviously then you cannot pay your bills. Now they started and tried to sell those cars, but it was not possible. And yesterday, the stock during trading times lost 7%, and obviously after hours another 36% down, and even maybe more when it's open on Tuesday. So you see here big name going into bankruptcy. One of the biggest shareholders is Carl Icahn, and now you think, why the billionaire just don't bail out this company? Now think about that this company has $19 billion in debt, and I'm quoting here CNBC article where it's just so pity because this company has a history since 1918, okay, more than 102 years old company, 40,000 employees worldwide. Such a mess, guys, such a mess. But those are the businesses that will heavily be impacted, and I think based on that you can count now different other things that will go out of business. Look at hotels, look at airlines, look at other car rental companies. Those are the news that will thrive through the next couple of months and weeks, because also Heartz couldn't get yet a bailout through the government, and they tried to sell those cars to get the payments, but they had to pay, and their agreements missed the payments, which were expired on the 22nd of May, which was yesterday, and therefore they have to file bankruptcy as of the law of the US or the US corporate law. So they having about $19 billion in debt, so even not Carl Icahn could just write a check. And also think about Carl Icahn and this kind of billionaires, investors, they look for good deals out there, and I think he lost so huge amount of money on this deal, so if you lost a couple of $1,000 recently in the stock market, don't worry, because the big guys are losing big. We saw this with Warren Buffett, right? That he just sold all his airlines with, for sure, a big loss. He sold Wells Fargo with a big loss. So Kraft Heinz, right? So this big guys also sometimes wrong and sometimes unlucky, right? Who thought that this health crisis will affect so much? We never thought that in the beginning of the year or the end of last year when it started in China. However, it seems that it took so many companies into huge effect, and it's just so pity, because such a I was a regular when I was traveling sometimes. Heartz was one of those car rental companies that you usually choose between other big car companies out there. To Heartz company or group belongs also Dollar Rent a Car or Thrift, and therefore I believe that many people will know these names. Those are big brands, and this yellow car rental company is unfortunately going out of business. We shall see how this further develop. Obviously, 35% after hours. This is now a question if this company, now some people might ask why this company is not at zero when there is the file for bankruptcy. Well, there's still a chance that somehow this company gets rescued, right? Maybe the government will come in, maybe a big investor, or maybe other car rental companies will go in and say, let's rescue Heartz, right? Unfortunately, it was not enough to try to sell cars that belonged to the fleet to settle some payments. I can imagine that they have huge costs during all the rental locations, the employees, 40,000 employees, guys, and Carl Icahn for sure lost a lot of money, because imagine also that the advantage of big money of these big guys like Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett, is that they might get deals that we as retail investors don't get at all, because they can directly speak with the owners, get special stocks, get special agreements with CEOs, but unfortunately also they are not that liquid as us and cannot say, let's sell 30% of Heartz, right? Because that's just not possible without taking a big cut into their stock price, right? Because if so much stocks are moving into the sales on the stock market, then you can expect that the stock will go and tank. And unfortunately, this will be maybe the news headlines now in the next couple of weeks. And this is where we shall see what will happen now in the stock market, because obviously this kind of bad news will thrive through the waves of the good news, right? And if you will see, popping up more and more bankruptcies, then you will see that the mood can change, guys. This can really affect the mood of investors. When you see every week a new company goes bankrupt, right? People lose their jobs, more and more people go unemployed. So you see that this is a huge thing, So I think that airlines will be affected, there will be car rentals affected, there will be there will be restaurants affected, right? So I'm very much curious what the next 2 weeks will bring. I'm very sorry if you guys are invested into Heartz. Obviously, this is very pity, because all of these jobs and people are losing their bread, right? But that's the world now, guys. Make yourself ready. Subscribe and like if you are here. And and I will come later on with some more content, guys. This is the new normal. Welcome to 2020.